Thursday, January 2nd to Monday, January 6th, 2025, the West Coast Trailer Sailing Squadron went down once again to the 10,000 Islands Wildlife Refuge in the Everglades National Park to do what we call our Lack of Challenge. This is an expeditionary-style sailing event. It's in the wilderness, so there's little to no support. You have to bring everything in that you need, food, water, etc. This is not a race. We provide one another mutual support for safety. We're building skills in sailing, navigation, meal planning, prep, boat camping, as well as enjoying long sails in a pristine natural environment. First day of the trip, we got to the Rod and Gun Club nice and early in the morning. That's because we had to catch the outgoing tide if we were going to get down the Barren River and through the passes out to the Gulf. We got underway early, about 8:30, and headed down Sandfly Pass with the outgoing tide. The tide was very low and we bumped a little bit along the way, but eventually we exited by Jewel Key, bumped over the shoals in front of it, and then headed to Pavilion.
Here we are out in the Gulf, in the 10,000 Islands. There's Tom over there, and Craig isn't too far behind over there. As you can see, we're moving right along. Perfect wind, what they've been predicting, about 10, 9, something like that. And even though the boat's fully loaded, we're flying along at like 5.7, 5.8. So we left, got everyone going and in the water. We're pretty much underway by 8:30 this morning from Rod and Gun in Everglades City. And took right an hour 15 minutes to go out Sandfly Pass into the Gulf, depending on where you call the end of the pass. Anyway, now we're out in the Gulf and we're heading toward Pavilion. We will be there by 11 o'clock and probably have some lunch and then do some exploring after lunch. Anyway, so far weather's been true to form, fantastic. I think we're going to have a great trip, put on a lot of miles and have a lot of fun. All right, back to sailing.
We did arrive at Pavilion by 11, so we ate an early lunch, and afterwards Tom and I decided to head off to Huston Cove, where I wanted to explore a couple of landing sites and beaches that I had seen on satellite photos that I was curious about.
So Tom and I are sailing over here from Pavilion to Huston Cove, and it's to check out some of the beaches I've been looking at here on satellite to see if they're decent landing places or places to stay. They look really promising, especially this one right here. Tacking up to it right now. But we'll take a look and see what we got. Okay, here we are at Huston's Cove. Two beaches I've been wanting to check out for a while. There's Tom coming in. So the water wasn't too bad coming in. The tide's at about 1.4 right now and could sail in pretty easily. The sand starts up about here on the beach, but this area here, this low tide area, is fairly firm. It's not like the muck that we had over at Pavilion. A lot of shell, a lot of dead and uprooted trees. Plenty of firewood if you want to put a fire on the beach here. Okay, this is that little beach, or two little beaches, at the entrance to the Chatham River, called Gun Rock Island, or Gun Rock Point. And it looked like it might have a little bayou behind it, but that's sort of filled in. There's not enough room to get by there. But there is this little spot here that looks really deep. It drops off really a lot, and you could pull your bow up to the beach here and hold it. And there's room for 2 or 3 boats right here. And boy, would it be protected from lots of directions. All the way from here. That's south-ish, all the way over to like here. So that'd be nice. A lot of shell The approach was nice on this, though. It was much steeper, so there wasn't a lot of shallow water in front of this right till you got to the beach. It came up relatively quickly, so that's a nice approach. We are at 2 feet of tide right now, though, so this would be a little farther back, but like I say, it's pretty steep, so not that far. Little spaceway at the top to sit for people at a high tide.
After checking out the landing spots, we headed back to Pavilion Key, where we met up with the rest of the fleet. We made a communal fajita dinner, we watched the sunset, and then we went to bed early. We were able to get up early the next day and get ready to get underway for Oyster Bay.
It's Friday, January 3rd, 2025, day 2 of the Everglades Lack Challenge. Got up real early this morning, got breakfast all taken care of, the boat ready. It's underway by 7:30, a little before. Everyone's still getting ready for an 8 o'clock departure. I'm out here in the Gulf rendezvousing with John, hopefully. But again, gorgeous morning. Got a single reef in the main. It was a little breezier last night. I think it's probably going to lay down, but we'll start out conservative, moving plenty fast. And beautiful morning here on the Gulf. There's the sun coming up over Pavilion Key, and it looks like it's going to be a great day. We just took a quick little detour, peek at Wood Key. We didn't get off because it was low tide and it's kind of surrounded by muck. I just looked at it as a landing spot, and it looked nice when the water was up. The weather's laid down a little bit, a little less wind than this morning, but still enough to easily push us along at 4.5 knots and smooth seas. So we're making great time. I think we're going to be down to Poncelet Bay and Graveyard Creek area probably no later than 1:15 if we slow down. So we'll probably have a little bit late lunch there. And I'm contemplating, instead of staying the night there, heading up the channels, heading into Whitewater and Oyster Bay. And that's because of the tides. They'll be rising until late afternoon, about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then falling and then rising in the middle of the night. The problem is in the morning they'll be falling all the way almost till noon, and when the tide's going out, those channels are really hard to make any progress up. So thinking about heading up the channels and into the bays late this afternoon before sunset, and just anchoring in there for the night. But we'll see. It's 2 p.m., January 3rd. Second day of the Everglades Lack Challenge 2025. That up ahead is Shark Point. That's the entrance to Ponce de Leon Bay. That's our goal for today. We've had a nice run down. We started at 8. We thought we'd get down here at 1, but the doldrums hit in the middle of the day like they were predicted, so we pretty much weren't going anywhere for about an hour. And then the wind slowly came in and has swung to the west and northwest like predicted. So we'll probably be in about, 25-30 minutes. January 3rd, 2025, about 3:30. So we're in Ponce de Leon Bay right now. We considered an anchorage over on that shore. It had some landings, but it was a little rough, and we weren't liking the anchorage. So we thought we'd head right on over, essentially to Oyster Bay. The entrances to all these little channels have quite a bit of tidal flow in them, and we're still on a rising tide, so we're going to ride that in. Tomorrow morning it'll be going out all the way till about 11:30 or 12, so if we're going to get in, it's now or not until tomorrow afternoon. So I think this is a good choice. Should be really calm inside there. It's all protected. We'll get a nice anchorage and spend the night, and then tomorrow exploring. So fantastic day coming to an end here. with a great sail. The wind picked up. It's west-northwest, and we're just shooting across the bay here. January 3rd, 2025, just before 4 p.m. This is the Little Shark River in all its glory. My God, as the golden hour is approaching here for photography. This is so beautiful. This is what we come here for. This is one of many of these twisting channels that drain Oyster and Whitewater Bay, which is where we're heading. We'll anchor there tonight and then explore the bays tomorrow, and then day after that start our trip back home. But right now, just loving this time of day in one of the most beautiful places.
We had a very lovely sail down Oyster Bay in the late afternoon light. Eventually we pulled into a nice snug anchorage, dropped the hook, got our tent set up, and for dinner finally had John's burger bash he'd been wanting to have since day one. Since we were at anchor, John very kindly even provided delivery service to each boat. They were delicious. After dinner, we went to bed early, so we could get up early the next morning to go and explore Oyster and Whitewater Bays. We did get up early the next morning, have our breakfast, and then headed out of our protected anchorage into the open bay. We were a little surprised by what we found in terms of the briskness of the wind.
Saturday, January the 4th. Just about 8:20 in the morning. We just got underway from our anchorage, and it's a little sporty out here. Strong north wind. But we're running down Oyster Bay, going to cut through a channel here over to Whitewater. Get a little shelter from the wind, but this is kind of fun. Got a single reef in the main, and that's all, and that's plenty right now. It's 15, and just whitecap starting to form, but everyone seems under control. All right, back to sailing.
Once we ducked into one of the many channels between Oyster and Whitewater Bay, it instantly became much more peaceful. We went down the beautiful channel. However, the tide was falling, so the current was against us. This resulted in lots of tacking to try to clear the last point, but eventually everyone got around. And after working our way to a return channel, we turned around and flew downstream downwind. After that easy run, it was time to anchor for lunch. And after a short break, we thought we'd go back out into the Oyster Bay and see if the wind had abated any. We got across Oyster Bay pretty quickly in those winds and ducked into the mangrove channels to get into calmer air once again. We were near our first anchorage, but decided to look for an even more secluded one and found a very lovely anchorage. So we dropped our anchors and started making plans for the next day. We didn't have any cell service at this point, so we had no up-to-date weather information, but I could get NOAA Miami weather on my VHF. The reports were pretty consistent for all the different stations. The winds were east 20, going southeast 15 to 20 for the next day. We didn't really like the prediction, but they were going to continue to clock around and go north, which would have made it very difficult to get back. So we decided to reef down the next day, head out to Ponce de Leon Bay, and check the weather. And if it was too bad, go back in. Otherwise, continue north and try to get to Mormon Key.
Okay, it's Sunday morning, January 5th, 2025, about 9:30. We're getting an intentionally a little later start today, partially because of the tides and also partially because of the weather. As the day goes on, the winds will go a little more south and lighten a little bit, so a later start gives us potentially better winds. But here's Craig and Diane coming out of what was one of the best anchorages ever. It's so smooth, no bugs last night. Tom and John are just going around the bend there. But we're going up this channel. Tide is falling, so it's helping to flush us out here. And we'll be going out into Pavilion Bay and frankly testing the conditions to make sure they're okay to continue. If not, we'll duck back in. Otherwise, we'll have a rip-roaring ride probably all the way back up north. Maybe to Mormon tonight. Should get there no more than 4 or 5 hours. Anyway, we're underway. Well, it's Sunday, January 5th, 2025, about 10:30, and we're pleasantly surprised. We're now coming out into Pavilion Bay after a very gentle sail up the channel here, and despite all the predictions of 20-mile-an-hour winds out of the east, we have just the most lovely, I don't even think it's 10, it's probably 8-mile-an-hour breeze, mostly out of the east, a little north, and just easy sailing. So I'm double reefed, looking for those 15 to 20. So I'll probably shake a reef out here. I want to see how I sail with the other boats first. But I think we're going to have a very pleasant couple hours sail back north, put on 25-30 miles easily, and pick a place for the evening. Alright, it's about 12:30 here on Sunday. Day 4 of the Everglades Lack Challenge with the West Coast Trailer Sailing Squadron. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. So much better than predicted. The wind has started to go to the southeast now, so we are on a broad reach here. And so the waves have kind of gone off our starboard quarter, and it's great. We're surfing down them, and we're making fantastic speed now. The double reefed main now and the jib is really almost ideal on this because we're so in control. I could handle it with a single reef main, but I'd be working a little bit harder, and we're going to be to our destination in no time. So what a fantastic day once again. This is what the Lack Challenge was supposed to be. Nice long sails to stretch your legs, actually see some different places, which we've done. And the late start this morning, I think, was a good choice. It let the day get a little brighter and warmer and gave us a chance to socialize more than we usually do. And as I said, we're going to get to our destination, which I think is Mormon Key, probably by 3 p.m. All right, back to sailing.
We got to Mormon Key easily by 3 p.m. We sailed up the east side of the island, around the top, and anchored off the northwest corner, anticipating southeast winds that night. This was a calm, lovely anchorage, with a beach filled with beautiful conch shells, a lot of them in fantastic condition. After dinner, we watched the sunset, and then off to bed.
It's just coming up on 7:30 a.m. and we are anchored here on Mormon Key up on the northwest corner, and had a beautiful night last night, nice and smooth. The winds were southeasterly and southerly, so we were in the lee here, and had a nice time. We were able to get a little bit of cell coverage here, enough to get updates on the weather, which validated what we had been hearing on the NOAA weather. And that's that we have a front coming through tonight with strong northwest winds, probably 25 miles an hour. And then northwest north winds today and tomorrow and Wednesday, with them slightly decreasing to 15.
The winds tomorrow don't seem favorable for sailing, so we'd probably have to hunker down. And the northerly winds are not favorable for going back to Everglades City, at least under sail. So we made an executive decision last night that we'll sail back today. We'll head back to Everglades City later this morning and probably get up there around noon or 1 o'clock. And that works the tides in our favor, and the wind will be in our favor. So we're going to take advantage of that while we can and bring to an end the 2025 Lack Challenge with 5 fantastic days of sailing and camping and camaraderie and everything else. Really couldn't have been better. The sail yesterday, almost everyone agrees, was among the best of their lives. It was so wonderful. So, in the spirit of the challenge, we make decisions that keep things easy for us and safe, and this falls in that same category, so I actually feel good about the decision. Anyway, we'll get underway here in about an hour and make our way back to Everglades City. So we're just getting underway. We decided that this will be our last day. The winds are right for getting back to Everglades City easily, and there's a front coming through that is not going to make things easy or comfortable to get back. So this is the best decision. Beautiful morning. God, we've been blessed with just the most perfect weather. Super comfortable temperatures. Almost no mosquitoes or no CMs on the whole trip, which has been great. But we're going to have a slow, peaceful sail this morning. One of these magic carpet ride type sails where the boat just seems to move by your will alone. But folks are getting sails up on the beach, and we'll all be underway shortly. And we're at Mormon Key here where we spent the night. It's a pavilion over there. It's the direction we'll be heading. We're heading back. The late morning winds were very pleasant but slow, just like 2.5 knots. But they've built now, and now we're sailing at speed, more 5 knots-ish. Heading for the passes to head up to Sandfly and then back to Everglades City. That up ahead is Jewel Key. That'll mark the turning point for us to head up into Sandfly Pass, which of course will take up to Everglades City. We're coming up on low tide here pretty soon, probably in the next 20 or 30 minutes, which will be great because we'll have the rising tide to bring us back to Everglades. Hopefully when we get there it will be fairly slack, which will make the landings and recoveries easier. Okay, we're in Sandfly Pass now, heading up. Good wind, making good way. Again, really happy with our decision. We're going to be up to Everglades City probably just before 1 o'clock, which is great. Should be able to get home in sunlight, which is a real plus. There's Tom over there. Good sailing buddy. Good sailor. And we are just being pushed right along by these south-southwest winds right up Sandfly Pass here to Goodland. To Everglades City. The wind continued to build out of the south as we flew up Sandfly Pass. As we neared the end of the pass, the wind really started pushing us along. My boat truant up on plane. When we entered Chokoloskee Pass, the wind was really strong since there was nothing obstructing it. Little more than I really wanted with my full main up, but it was downwind, so it wasn't too bad. After many controlled jibes, I entered the Barren River. I had been planning my landing the whole trip over, and it seemed to go quite well. Just before I got to rod and gun, I rounded the boat up and dropped the mainsail. I then popped the Jenny, and there was just enough wind to defeat the current, so I slowly started going downwind upstream to my landing. I was able to come over to the seawall at a walking pace, and when I wanted to stop, I just furled my Jenny. Whitney was there waiting, so I handed her my lines, tied up, and started offloading. Tom and Craig came by soon thereafter, and their landings were just as uneventful. We got to work right away pulling the boats out, taking them down, packing up, changing our clothes, and getting ready to head home, energized by what was probably the best trip yet.